Hello and welcome to another video from the Reaper blog. The YouTube channel has made it to 1,200 subscribers, so it's time to answer another 5 questions. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone that's subscribed, everyone that's liked and shared and commented on the articles and the videos. Really appreciate that. I also want to point out that there is a tip jar on the website, so if you like what I'm doing and you want to donate, that would be greatly appreciated. Huge thanks to everyone that has already donated. All right, so let's get into the questions. First one is, where should my levels be when recording and in the mix? So whenever you're using a microphone, you want the signals to be at line level. That's what your preamp is going to operate best at, as well as the analog to digital converter. Those are set up to take a signal from -24 up to -12 optimally. So you look at your meters in Reaper. If your average signal level is between -24 and -12, you're good. You have a good clean signal, and that's all you need. So once you have your recording done and you're mixing, every time you add a plugin, you should balance the input and output levels so that it's the same level all the way through and not continually getting louder. When you have all the tracks, when there's all these tracks going through the master, you have to manage the levels with the faders so that you're hitting about -12 on the master. This gives you lots of room for mastering when you're actually making it loud. All right, moving on. The next question is how to create gated reverb old school snare sounds. All right, so this is something that's easier to show you than to explain. So let's jump over to Reaper and I'll show you. All right, so old school snare sounds with gated reverb. Let's start with making a new track for the reverb. Let's call this reverb. And we'll add in the free reverb plugin. I'm going to set this to pretty big. Let's do 85, full damping. And we're gonna go for sort of an old school sound. So let's do not quite mono, but half mono. And let's send from the snares into there. All right, so that's a pretty big snare reverb, but it's not too interesting. But it's a starting point for the gated reverb. So let's put that aside for now and get our gate. I'm going to drop that onto the reverb channel. Now let's actually calculate the timing for this. So the time between the these two snare hits, and I'm in minutes and seconds. Let's just check here. That's 1 second. We're at 120. So I think we actually want this to be half. So the snare gets hit, and then the reverb gets cut off here. Let's do that. So that's 500 milliseconds. And let's split the difference between the hold and the release. So let's do 125 hold, and then 375. Now we need to set this up because we don't want the reverb signal to be triggering the gate. We want the original snare to be triggering the gate. So we need to take another send, actually from the I/O button, and drag it onto the plugin. That automatically sets up 4 channels on the reverb. So let's just send this at Unity, may as well. And next we need to set this to auxiliary input. We solo this track and preview the filter, where we hear the original snare. And if we take this off, we hear the reverb. So, snare. All right, so that's gating nicely for us. Let's hear that in with the track. Let's also add in a compressor. I like to compress the reverb signal before gating. Let's just bring this up a little bit, and let's put it on the sidechain input. All right, so pretty retro sounding, and I think that's what you were looking for. Let's hear this with some loops. All right, so that is gated reverb on a snare. All right, next question is drum replacement and triggering in Reaper. So there's half a dozen ways of doing this, and some of them are more accurate than others. I'm going to show you a really quick and lazy way of doing this just with audio. All right, so the quick and lazy way to do drum sample replacement or enhancement. So let's enhance the snare because it's not retro sounding enough. It's okay, but it could be better. For this lazy method, we're going to take this, we're going to split it up with dynamic split, and then we're going to replace the actual media source with a sample file. So to do that easily, we'll duplicate the track. That was a Command D. Check your action list if it is not Command D. Going to item processing, dynamic split. This looks right to me, so I'm going to split selected item. I'm going to deselect this first item because there's no snare hit there. I'm going to grab a snare hit from my sample library. Yeah, nice and retro sounding. Right click and insert as media source in selected items. Now let's pull that down a bit. Now, if we wanted to actually change that to a different hit, maybe a different drum altogether. Let's do this one. We can insert it as a take, and then we can audition different snares really easily. So there you go. Really lazy way of doing sample replacement. For sort of electronic music like this, it works really well. If you need more detail, I'm going to do a video comparing all the other ways I can think of to replace drums in Reaper. Let's move on. Question 4. Is there a way to play a project in a different sequence without having to edit the arrangement? So for this, you will need the SWS extensions, and there's a function in there called the region playlist. So what you do is you take each section of your song, mark them with a region, then make a new playlist in the region playlist, and then reorder them however you like. When you're done, you can preview, and it'll play the region in the order that you selected. You can commit that to the project in various ways. Question 5 is the best way to work with MS recordings. So mid-side recording is when you have one cardioid mic pointed at your source and a bidirectional mic pointed away from the source. So this gives you a mono signal for the middle and a mono signal for the left side. You then decode the mic so that you have a polarity inverted signal for the right side. All right, so if you have a stereo file with the left channel, the mono signal, and the right channel, the side signal, you go to your JS plugins, find the Kanaka MS5, just type in MS, and drop this onto that stereo track. So I'll play it without it. Sounds kind of weird. Put that plugin on it. All right, so that's how it's supposed to sound. Now, if you have these on to mono tracks, it's like this. So you have your mono signal, pan that center, got your side signal, pan that to the left. Now make a new track. Let's call this side minus. And we're going to pan this hard right. Going to drag and drop to make a send to that track. Going to make this unity gain and pre-fader. All right, so if we solo these two tracks and then polarity invert this one and check it in mono, silence, perfect phase cancellation, and that's what we're looking for. And you're probably wondering, why would we want that? Well, blend in that mid microphone and we get a stereo image. Now, to make this blend easier, I usually group these faders together so that they move together. All right, so that's how I work with MS recorded files. All right, so that's 5 questions answered for this round. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it and hope you've learned something. Check out reaperblog.net for more tutorials. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you soon.